let's talk. Notes. Finally. So sorry I'm a bit late, but hey, here too is. Anyhow, I hope you enjoy. But sadly there are TW to this chapter. TW, implied character death. Blood. Slight panic attack. Okay, that's all, enjoy. See the end of the chapter for more notes. Chapter text. They're getting away, Michael cried as the giant tank started zooming out of the perimeters of the dock. He chased after it, but it was too late. He was no match for the giant machine's engine. Mutant or not. Eventually, he stopped after the tank made its second turn. He lost track of them. He must have run at least 10 blocks before giving up. He slowed down, allowing his breathing to pace. He let out a groan in frustration as he was trying to regain his breath. Fuck, he yelled out. He held himself up by his knees to help his lungs. Language, one of the gargoyles said out of breath after flying after the teen. Michelangelo turned to see the 2 gargoyles had tagged along as well. Sorry, just got frustrated, Michael replied, staring at the floor hunched as his lungs started to pace evenly again. It's okay, just take a breath, Mutant said as the teen stood up straight. Michelangelo sighed. Now what? This wasn't part of the plan, he said, sounding slightly angry. You want to what now? Michael almost shouted. Yes, I want you to take off your mask before you take down the turtles, Draxum answered, currently preoccupied with something on the desk, out of view to Michelangelo. But they already saw my face. What purpose would it have? Michelangelo asked, staring at his father's back. That is true, but I have a theory, Draxum said as he neatly stacked some papers before setting them down. And that would be? Michael asked, folding his arms in a sassy manner. Draxum turned to the teen. There are many Kappa Yokai. They could just assume that you are one of them, Draxum said too confidently for a theory. Okay, that makes sense. But why would they care? Michelangelo asked, still confused by the plan. Simple, these turtles seem to run through family bonds. Simple, these turtles seem to run through family bonds. I intend to exploit that weakness by telling them about your biological ties with them, Draxum proceeded. Michael had a sudden realization of what that meant. And while they are caught off guard, we can take them down, he exclaimed, finishing Draxum's thought in the process. Exactly, now you get it, Draxum said, turning to face the teen with a grin. But that's just the backup plan, Draxum said, approaching the teen. The backup plan? Then what's the main one? Michael questioned. I would like to form a league of the mutants that have been created of the month, he continued. And you want me to track them down? Michael said. No, there's no need. That pile on my desk has all the information you need, Draxum said, pointing at the desk he just came from. Michelangelo walks up to the pile, seeing the names of many mutants he has never seen before, some he recognized from his time on the surface. Well, there's no time to waste. I suggest you look through the pile, Draxum said, before leaving the room. It's been at least an hour. Still no sign of the turtles or their tank. Oh, where are they? Michael grumbled. On a rooftop. He and the gargoyles had left New Jersey in hopes to catch the 3 turtles. But after looking around, there were usually hangout spots where they were nowhere to be found. Let's look around again, Mutant suggested, resting upon Michelangelo's shoulder. Maybe they finally showed up, he added. But by now they would be hiding. For all we know, Draxum could be being interrogated or being tortured by those turtles. And they're awful human, Michelangelo cried, panic rising in his voice. We need to act now. There has to be a way to track them. Michelangelo continued, closing his eyes to think. Think there has to be a way to track them, Michael thought, after what felt like a minute. Wait, maybe there is a way, Michael shouted, digging into his pockets and pulling out a small purple shard. Wait, isn't that the mystic crystal we gave you a few weeks back? Huggin asked as he flew off of Michael's shoulder to get a better look. Yes, and this is how we're going to track Draxum, Michael said, holding the crystal up high for both the gargoyles to see. Michelangelo pulls the shard close to his face and whispers into it. Show me Baron Draxum, he said, making sure he was thinking of his dad while saying it. The surface of the crystal swirled around before a faint image appeared. It was Draxum, who appeared to be talking to someone. Hey, there he is, Mutant exclaimed, looking at the crystal. Good job, Squirt, you found him, he continued, giving Michael a pat on the shoulder. Not quite, I still don't know his exact location, Michelangelo said, looking at the gargoyle, and then back at the crystal. Weird, I can't hear anything, Michael questioned as he shook the crystal a bit, hoping that it would do something to fix the audio. The crystal only vibrated in response. Michael pushes the crystal away from him, and the gargoyle still holding onto it. That's not supposed to happen, Michael thought to himself as the crystal vibrated harshly in his hand. The image of Draxum fades in and out of existence, until it finally dies out. Growing cracks replace the image as the crystal let off a low humming noise. Drop it, Huggin cried to the teen, who happily obeyed. They all backed away from the crystal as it let off a low humming noise that just got louder. The noise increased along with the many growing cracks on the crystal. Eventually, it burst, sending shards everywhere like a bomb. Both Mikey and the gargoyles cover their face as small shards attempt to cut them. Small hot rocks hit the 10-year-old's skin as he covered his face. Once rocks stop stinging his reptilian skin, he looks up to the source of the mini-explosion. On the ground, a small trail of smoke flew up from the ground. Was that a pop rock? Michael thinks to himself. He clutches his fist a little tighter before looking at the other person in the room. You cheater. We agreed on no weapons, Michael shouted as he chased after the other 10-year-old. Hey, you know the saying, all fair in love and war, the child said. And besides, this is not a weapon, it doesn't really hit you, the other said as they pulled out another pop rock. Michael was quick to react this time. He side-dodged the incoming rocks and continued to sprint to the other child. They must have taken notice of Michael's incoming attack as they attempt to reach for another pop rock, but their hand is swiftly pulled out of his pocket. The next thing they knew, they were colliding to the ground. Heh, you suck at cheating, Michael said as he lent out a hand to help up his friend. Ha ha, laugh all you want, I'll get you next time, Mikey, the other said as they got up with a bit of assistance from Mikey. Yeah, only in your dreams, Mikey said, brushing them off, as they both started to walk to the exit of the training area. No, Michael said as he collected the remaining fragments of the crystal scoured across the floor. He looked at the shards in his hands as tears pricked the ends of his eye. He was right there. Why did the stupid crystal break? Mutant cried as he clutched the shards close to his chest. The two gargoyles came to comfort the teen, seeing that he is distressed. Hey, it's okay, we'll find another way, Mutant said. Look on the bright side, you at least know he's alive. You just don't know where or who has them. Mutant continued, completely ignoring Huggins' hand signals, to not say the last bit. This did nothing to comfort the teen. His thoughts flooded with all the ways he could lose his father. He couldn't lose him too. Huggins was quick to react. Hey, it's good. I'm sure there's another way to track him, he said, looking to his companion for support. Mutant nodded in agreement. Yeah, there's always a way, Mutant said. We just have to think of one, he continued, now hard in thought. An idea pops into Michelangelo's head. If anyone had both the knowledge and resources to find someone, it would be Big Mama, Michael mumbled out. Sorry, what did you say? Huggin asked, not quite catching on to what the teen said. Big Mama, Michael said a bit louder for the gargoyle to hear. Oh, okay. Are you crazy? The gargoyle shouted the last bit out, startling both his companion and the teen, never hearing him yell before. We can't go to Big Mama. It's too risky, Huggins said, crossing his arms while hovering in the air. Michael shakes his head, trying to get over his shock of Huggin yelling. He stood up to be at eye level with Huggin. What other choice do we have? We can't sit here and do nothing, Michelangelo said calmly, trying to de-escalate the situation. It's too risky. She could sweep us into one of her deals, he said, trying to reason with the teen. We won't. I can handle her, Michelangelo said, resting his hand on his chest, silently promising the gargoyle. Huggin squinted his eyes, trying to see if the teen was telling the truth. His concentration cut short when an arm is placed on his shoulder. Come on, Huggin. Let's give it a shot, Mutant said, patting his companion's shoulder. Huggin stares at his companion, and then looks back at the teen, now giving his famous puppy dog eyes. He sighed. Fine, I can't say no to you, he said in defeat. But if there's any funny business, we leave immediately, he said as he landed on the teen's shoulder. Don't worry, Huggin. I can deal just fine, Michelangelo said. He tied his mask from before. He took off, hoping to build after building, heading to the Battle Nexus Hotel to meet Big Mama. You want what now? Big Mama said, staring at the teen across her desk. I want to stay here just for a year or two, Michelangelo said, fidgeting with his fingers behind his back. My angel, that's quite a mighty request. I don't believe Draxum would approve of this, she said, rubbing her chin and thinking about it. He will if I convince him that it's purely for training, Michelangelo said, trying to convince her. All right, I will agree to this, Big Mama said without even thinking about it. But I will need something in exchange, she said, folding her hands together, a grin forming on her face. Yes, I understand. What did you have in mind? Michelangelo asked. Well, as you know, no one can just live in Big Mama palaces without a price, Big Mama said as she came around her desk to approach the preteen. Thus is our guard dog. The bellhops serve the guests, and my warriors in the Nexus entertain them, she continued, now ushering Michelangelo to follow her to the balcony where a fight in the Nexus could be seen. Mikey stares in awe as he watches the fight from above. I know you may not have finished your training here yet, but I would like for you to serve in the Battle Nexus, Big Mama said, earning a stare from the 11-year-old. It's a perfect fit for you, and will let you use your training in an actual fight, Big Mama said gleefully. Michelangelo's eyes sparkled at the mention of it. Really? The 11-year-old said cheerfully. Why, yes, of course, you'll have to be in the lower divisions. Can't risk my little angel getting slaughtered by my already trained warriors, Big Mama said, pinching his cheeks and earning a giggle from Mikey. Or for Draxi to be out of my head, she added as she let go of his cheeks. Michelangelo smiled, and out of excitement he trapped Big Mama into a hug. Yes, thank you, he shouted, tightening the hug. After a good minute, he let go, and made his getaway to the door. Thank you, Mama, I'll convince Dad, he said as he left the room, unaware of the wicked smile. Outside, his friends stood there waiting for him. Their eyes lit up as his companion came out. Hey, Mikey, how did it go? They said, cheerfully approaching his friend. It went great, Mikey cheered. She gave me the Aachen, and even allowed me to join the Battle Nexus, Michael said, waving his arms excitingly. I mean it in the lower division, but still, he continued. Dude, that's great, the other 11-year-old spoke, putting his arm around Mikey's shoulder. Heck, we should celebrate. Not only did we get you away from your pops for a year, and you're also in the Battle Nexus, they said as they and Mikey went down the hall. Now me and you can stick together with no one in our way. Hell, I'll even join you in the Nexus. They continued, stopping at the entrance of the lobby. Hey, yeah, but are you sure about joining? We could get put against each other, Mikey said, his voice sounding wary despite the smile stamped on his face. Of course I'm sure. The lower division is a strict no-kill zone. And besides, I'm friends with Big Mama's Golden Jewel, they said cheerfully, with a vote of confidence they Mikey admired about the other. They both entered the lobby of the Battle Nexus, cheerfully laughing and cracking jokes. Michael arrived at the elevator to the Nexus Hotel. The doors slide open, revealing the bellhop inside. The large bear yokai stares at the teen, silently questioning why he was there. I wish to speak with Big Mama, Michael said, practically feeling the uneasiness coming off the two gargoyles flying behind him. The bear yokai stares at the teen to the gargoyles before allowing them in the elevator. The ride to the top was painfully slow. You could practically feel the gargoyles' uneasiness the whole way. The elevator dings as they reached the top floor. The doors open once more, revealing Big Mama's office. Michael scanned the room, finally landing on Big Mama's desk, where she sat staring at papers on her desk. They all exit the elevator when the bear yokai speaks up. Big Mama, you have a guest. The bear yokai spoke, deeming the attention from Big Mama. And who is it? She spoke in quite a bitter tone, not bothering to look up. Your Jewel and Baron Draxum's henchman, the bear spoke before taking their leave. Big Mama peeked up, looking away from her papers that lay on the desk. My Angle, what brings you here? She said, her tone changing from before. Michael walks up to her desk with the gargoyles not too far behind. I need your help, Michael spat out, glad his mask was on so no one could see how badly he was avoiding eye contact. You wish for my help? What seems to be the matter? She said in a tone that made the gargoyles feel uneasy. Well, I need help locating my father, Michael said, going through his OB and pulling out the fragment shards of the crystal before. I tried to do it myself, but I guess my shard was cracked. He continued, presenting the fragments to Big Mama. She inspects the broken shard. You did quite the damage to it. But don't fret, I have plenty of these, she said as she took the fragments of shards. But may I ask why come to me instead of going back to that sheep's horrendous lair? She questions. The lair is still being rebuilt. Most of the stuff was ruined. I just figured it would be easier to come to you since we were nearby, Michael replied, still avoiding eye contact. Oh, well, no need to worry. I'll have my bellhops go fetch you a new crystal, she said, waving at one of the bellhops nearby to go get one. And as you must be aware, I'll need something in return, she continued. After hearing this, Huggin snapped. No way, we won't be doing anything for you, he shouted from behind, making all attention go to him. Oh, calm down. It's not that, but I just require you to fetch me a few new weapons for my Battle Nexus, that's all, she said with a smile that Huggin didn't approve of. Nothing you can't handle, Angle, she continued, resting her chin on her hand. Huggin was about to say more when the teen shuts him down. It's a deal. Then Michael spoke out, leaving both gargoyles speechless. Perfect. I will have my bellhops relay to you all the details of the retrieval, she said. Thank you, Big Mama, I appreciate the help, but we must be on our way now, Michael said, finishing his sentence with a small bow. He quickly turns to leave, the gargoyles following right behind. Of course, Angel. Come to me if you ever have any trouble, she said as he entered the elevator. The doors to the elevator closed. Minnan could see a grin plastered on her face as they left. I think Huggin is right, something is off about her, he thinks as they head down the lobby. The bear yokai in the elevator handed him a new shard as the elevator dinged, signaling that they reached the lobby. By the time they left, Michael could feel a scolding coming his way from the gargoyles glaring at the back of his neck. What was that? Huggin was first to start. What? Michael said, a bit of attitude in his voice. We got what we came for, he continued. We agreed on no deals, Huggin said, trying to avoid raising his voice. No, we agreed on no funny business, Michael said, voice raising only to be reminded it was still recovering from the last time he visited Big Mama. Dose retrieving weapons not seem like funny business, Huggin continued. It could have been worse, Michael said, turning away from the gargoyle. That's not the point though, Huggin said, flying over to be in Michael's vision. This is how it starts, she asks, for one small thing, and the next time it could be something huge like fighting in the Nexus, Huggin said. That made the final straw. What would you know? Michael said, trying to avoid yelling as much as possible for the sake of his voice. I know he the best out of all of us, and from what I see we got lucky in that deal. He continued. Munin came to Hugin's side seeing the situation starting to rise, and one of them was sure to say something they would regret. Guys, calm down, we got what we came for, let's just find the boss, okay? He said in between both Huggin and Michael. With that, the once forming tension fizzles out into silence. Sorry, I didn't mean that, Michael said now in a more soft tone. I just wanted you to trust that I could handle it, he said, taking off his mask from before. Huggin eyes softened as he sighed. We do squirt, we just don't trust her, he replied. And for the record, I'm sorry too. I just wanted you to be safe. He finished, earning a grin from his companions. Don't worry about me, Huggin. I can handle her, Michael said, reassuring the gargoyle. After it wouldn't be my first time, he thinks to himself to be sure gargoyles couldn't hear. Come on, let's go, Michael said, motioning for the gargoyles to follow. The tears seemed to never end. Mikey was hiding in his new room, that Big Mama said he could use during his time here. It just looked like an ordinary hotel room, almost lifeless. The walls were this almost ominous peach color, the mattress was entirely white, with the carpets being gray. He was on the bed, hugging his knees, rocking back and forward as he let out painful sobs, that his throat will hate him for later. The poor white sheets were stained red from his hands. He'll apologize to the maids later. He rocked back and forward as he continued to sob. His hands were still soaked in blood. The thought of whose blood it was made him want to hurl. I didn't mean to, he thinks as his thoughts start to become more overwhelming. I didn't mean to, he continued. I shouldn't have disobeyed her. I should have known better. This is all my fault, Mikey thinks as he squeezes his eyes shut, only to remember the horrors in that arena. More tears fall. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, he thinks, making him sob harder. This goes on for minutes, maybe even an hour, until the door opens silently. The person not wanting to startle Mikey, but he heard. His eyes shoot open as his hand reflectively grabs his newly acquired collar, ready to try to prevent it from closing in on him again. Even if he knows it won't work, he looks at the door, seeing a familiar face. Can I come in? They ask, their face soft and comforting. Mikey nods as he goes back to hugging his legs, avoiding eye contact. They sat right next to him on the bed, letting the silence consume the room. Only the sounds of sobs could be heard. They could tell that Mikey was trying to hold it back, but to no avail. The sobs only come in chokes, making his throat throb even more. Eventually, they turned to look at him. Do you need a hug? They asked, hoping the preteen was well enough to answer. Mikey only nodded. They wasted no time, and wrapped Mikey in a tight embrace. Mikey only held on tighter, letting the waterworks go. I didn't mean to, he cried as he held on tighter. His blood-soaked hands stained the other's clothing. Great, I am getting blood all over them, he thinks. It's okay, Mikey, let it all out, they said, rubbing the back of his shell. That broke Mikey, making even more tears fall as the night went on. The tank was deathly silent at Leo's words. No one was sure what to say. Raph was sure that everyone's thoughts were going a million miles per hour like his, and the crushing silence was no help. Luckily, Leo broke the silence. Come on, guys, we can't just pretend we all didn't think the same thing, he said. Leo was right. Goatface has to know is the same missing brother that Splinter mentioned not too long ago. Raph wasn't sure how he knew it. It was just this weird gut feeling he had, like something that told him that they were related. You're right, Leo. We're all thinking the same thing. But what are we going to do about it? Donnie chimed in an unusually cool tone. Raph ignored it, assuming Donnie is still shocked about the information, and is still coming up with many theories and hypotheses. Raph thought about the question. What are they going to do? Their missing brother is not only alive, but in the hands of Baron Draxum. And from the bruising around his neck, it didn't seem like he was safe. Raph's face hardens as he figures that he shouldn't be debating this answer. I'll tell you what, we're going to rescue him, Raph said, standing up almost determined. Wait, like right now? Leo said, getting up as well, taking notice of how Raph was heading to his captain's chair. Hold up, can we talk about this insane plan first? Donnie said, trying to reason with Raph. There's no talking about this. Don't you want to save him? He's our brother, and he needs our help, Raph stated as he took a seat in the chair. Donnie, can't you locate him? Raph said as he started the tank back up. Donnie was quick to stop the engines, using the manual control on his wrist tablet. Raph, we can't just jump into this kind of thing, Donnie said, ignoring Raph's frustrated grumbles as the engine turned off. Raph immediately started pressing buttons on his chair, hoping to activate some kinda override system. But Donnie must have thought ahead and made sure no buttons work under his control. Come on, Donnie, out of all of us I thought you would be the most interested in this. You must have a million questions, Raph said, still trying to figure out how to turn the battle shell back on. I do, but this isn't the way to get answers. And from my experience, he doesn't care that we're family, Donnie stated. Donnie's attempt at convincing Raph was only futile. Raph's mind was already made up, and he was dead set on getting his missing brother back. By any means. Wait, what do you mean by your experience? Leo chimed in, making the attention focus on him. We only just found out, Donnie. How can you have a personal experience? He continued as he speculated he was a twin. Donnie gulped his lump down his throat before speaking. Well, from our other run-ins, of course, Donnie said, failing to hide his nervousness in his voice. Leo squinted his eyes at his twin. Donnie, are you hiding something from us? Leo said, furrowing his brows. What? I would never, Donnie said as he avoided eye contact with Leo, having a feeling he could see right through his very soul. Raph, who had snapped out of pressing every button, focused his attention between the twins. And Leo was right, Donnie is holding something back. Donnie, whatever it is, spit it out, Raph said, now suspicious of his purple-clad brother. Donnie, now unable to avoid eye contact, can feel the silent pressure to confess coming from his two brothers. After a few seconds of him being silent, Donnie confessed. Alright, fine. I kinda sorta already knew, he mumbled out in a low tone. But both Raph and Leo caught it, and their eyes blew wide. You knew? Leo started, confusion running in his voice. Donnie only nodded his head as he can feel their stares burn through him. His chest felt heavy as the tension rose in the room. For how long? Raph added. Anger unintentionally rose in his voice. Since Big Mama's hotel, Donnie managed to muster out, looking to the side, not wanting to see the disappointment in his older brother's eyes. From Raph's small gasp, he could tell he made the right choice. A week, Raph said. Donnie, why didn't you tell us? He continued as his anger grew. I swear I was going to, but, Donnie said, voice lowering at the end, afraid to say what he was thinking. But what? Raph said in an unintentionally cold tone that sent shivers down the twins' spines. I was afraid of this, Donnie shouted out. I was afraid you guys would get too emotional and act like this, he continued, taking both Leo and Raph by surprise by the outburst. I'm all for getting him away from the dark side and all, but it's not worth the cost. I don't want you guys getting hurt trying to save him. I mean, look what he did to Leo, Donnie said, referencing Leo's still fresh first-degree burns. So I just figured it would be better if I didn't say anything. After all, it has no real big effect on us, Donnie said, reverting his eyes back to the ground. Raph and Leo both looked at each other, silently agreeing that Donnie was not wrong. We get it, and we're not mad. We just want to know about this big life-altering information, Leo started. After all, it's not like he's only your brother, he is ours too, Leo continued, resting his hand on Donnie's shoulder, who accepted the touch. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to raise my voice, it wasn't fair that you kept information like that from us, Raph added. Donnie looked up at his older brother, meeting his sensible eyes. Sorry, Donnie muttered. Raph smiled. Romies to let us in the loop from now on, Raph said, holding out his finger and trying to make a pinky promise. Donnie only stared at the hand being held out. Okay, I promise. But I'm not going to pinky swear to it, Donnie said, shoving off Raph's hands, earning a giggle from both brothers, as the giggles and the three brothers stood there in silence. So now what? Leo said, hoping to break their silent streak. Raph thought on it, and his eyes lit up now, knowing what they were going to do. Leo calls April and tells her to meet us back at the lair, he told Leo, who quickly pulled out his phone to call April. Okay, know what? Donnie questioned as he sees his twin walk to the other side of the tank to talk to April. Simple, we are going to head back to the lair and figure out how to bring our brother home, Raph said with a vote of confidence. Donnie nodded as he went to his usual station and powered up the engines to the tank. Leo comes back to his station right across from Donnie, but only to be stopped. Oh, and one more thing, Leo, go clean yourself up with the first aid kit. No need to make those burns worse, Raph said, earning an annoyed groan from Leo, who went to fetch the first aid kit. For the team medic, he sure hates taking care of himself, Raph thinks as he steers the tank back home. Notes. Well, you made it to the end. Not sure how we feeling, but just know I did cry a bit while making my angst portion. Also, new characters, who are they? IDK, so let's see who can figure it out. Notes. Go check out my Tumblr at errorcode 400.